Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. Welcome to this circle that gathers again and again. We've never been this particular circle before, nor will we be again. But whoever we are, wherever we're coming from, whatever we're celebrating or grieving, whether you've helped shape this circle many times when it's formed, or you're giving us the gift of your presence today for the very first time, you are welcome in this place. We gather in this ancient configuration of a circle, a storytelling configuration, a formation that is never closed and there's always room to expand, and a formation where we look at one another and find each other in mutuality and equality. So I welcome those of you who are gathered in this room in Edmonton and those of you who are joining us online, some of you from New Brunswick, someone in Scotland, in Ontario, in Saskatchewan, in British Columbia, wherever you happen to find yourself. We're grateful that you're with us today online. And as a community celebrating diversity of color and culture, language and traditions, ages and stages, sexual orientations and gender identities, we gather in the abundance of this Thanksgiving season, pausing in the bustle of life, amid the burdens we carry and the joys we hold. We come restless for justice, for a better world, searching for peace inside our skin and peace with one another and peace among nations. And we come opening to wonder and mystery. And we sing our gratitude for life. We sing ourselves into community.
We have a moment to share those things in the community that are happening that we want to know about, and I know there's a couple of you that have something to share. As always, there's much gratitude to share for all the ways that we participate and have this community to be part of. We couldn't be this community without each and every person here that gathers, here that gives their time and their energy to those little things and big things, and those who contribute to the financial health and the work and the life of this community. Thank you, one and all, for all the ways that you contribute. If you'd like to donate this morning, there are a number of ways to do that. Of course, in the boxes that are by the doors on your way out, we'll receive your envelopes. You can donate online anytime at our website, ssucedmonton.com, or buy some grocery cards, or talk to us for other ways you can contribute to all the things going on in this community. On this weekend, when we find time to ponder and share our gratitude for life and for each other, we light this candle, and we recognize the same light is in us that is in friend, that is in stranger, that is at the heart of life. Light that grew from the radiance of the first flaring forth, to the light we flick in the middle of the night, to the candle we light on the most special of occasions. It's our reminder, all of these, of our connection. It's our reminder that we are better together than alone. It's a reminder of the best of who we are. And so it is that we give thanks also this morning for this land, for Treaty 6 territory, where we're grateful to meet and call home, with gratitude to the peoples and the traditions and the history of the many First Nations for whom this is ancestral land, traditional territory, and traveling route. Let's continue singing our gratitude this morning. Our time for all ages is upon us. If you would like to come to the carpet, hear a story, have a chat, come forward. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I thought on this Thanksgiving weekend where we're encouraged to say thank you a lot, I thought we could talk about all the different ways to say thank you. I mean, we can't do all the different ways, but we could do some different ways that we can say thank you. Now, the easiest one for most of us is with our mouth, with our words. We can say the words, thank you, right? That's easy. And we are always told that that's good manners, you know, to say thank you, to say please. So thank you is something we're used to saying, right? We're used to saying thank you. But there are other ways that we can say thank you that aren't with our mouths. We can say thank you with our bodies, with our heads. I've seen people say thank you, especially if they're a long way away from each other. I've seen people say thank you with their heads like this. Have you ever seen someone do that? They just nod at each other. It's like, thank you, but You don't have to say anything. If you've ever seen your parents in the car, sometimes you can't say thank you to another car, can you? Because they can't hear you. So sometimes if we're in a car or we're in other places, we'll say thank you with a wave. Ever seen that? Thank you. Yep, we can do it with a wave. I've seen people do kind of a little salute to say thank you. Like, someone does something and all of a sudden someone's saying, thank you. Oh, okay, another thing we can do with our bodies. Oh my goodness, there's nods, there's waves, there's salutes. Sometimes just a smile is a thank you. Someone gives you something and you smile, that's a way of saying thank you because you really love it. You're smiling, you're happy about that. Lots of ways to say thank you. I'm sure we could think of lots of others. I know. Sometimes you get thank you gifts. That's really special. Someone is so thankful that they'll give you a gift to show that they're thankful. Oh, it's beautiful. Today on Thanksgiving, I want to share with you this book called Grateful, A Song of Giving Thanks. Now, that's weird because it's a book, but it's a song. Got it? Grateful, a song of giving thanks. So I'm not going to read you this book. We're going to listen to it. Because a really good singer named Art Garfunkel is singing this song. Your parents or grandparents will know who that is. And this is a song called Grateful. So we'll listen to the words and we'll look at the pictures, and it's a lovely way to celebrate all the ways of saying thank you.
I've got a roof over my head. I've got a warm place to sleep. Some nights I lie awake counting gifts instead of counting sheep. I've got a heart that can hold love. I've got a mind that can think. There may be times when I lose the light and let my spirit sink, but I can't stay depressed when I remember how I'm blessed. Grateful, grateful, truly grateful I am. Grateful, grateful, truly blessed and duly grateful. In a city of strangers, I've got a family of friends. No matter what rocks and brambles fill the way, I know that they will stay until the end. Grateful, grateful, truly grateful I am. Grateful, grateful, truly blessed and duly grateful. It's not that I don't want a lot, or hope for more, or dream of more, but giving thanks for what I've got makes me so much happier than keeping score. In a world that can bring pain, I will still take each chance, for I believe truly blessed and duly grateful.
I wish you a happy Thanksgiving and hope that you can find all kinds of ways to say thank you to people in your lives today. Be creative. It'll be great fun. Okay, time for programs. Kids Spirit and Preschool, Youth Cafe are all happening this morning, so be on.
A story of generosity, a story placed in the voice of Jesus of Nazareth in one of the Gospels that have been passed down to us from the first century, a parable. The story has Jesus speaking and saying, "The spiritual life is like an estate manager who went out early in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. They agreed on the usual day's work and they went to work. Later, about 9 o'clock, the manager saw some other men hanging around the town square unemployed. And he told them to go to work in his vineyard and he would pay them a fair wage too. And they went. He did the same thing at noon, and around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he did the same thing again. And at 5 o'clock, he went back and found some others still standing around, and he said to them, 'Why are you standing around with nothing to do all day?' And they answered, 'Because no one hired us.' So he told them to go and work in his vineyard. When the day's work was over, the owner of the vineyard instructed his foreman, 'Call the workers and pay them their wages. Start with the last ones we hired, and then go on to the first.' Those hired at 5 o'clock came up, and each were given the usual daily wage. When those who were hired first saw that, they assumed they would get more, but they got the same. Each of them also received the usual daily wage. Taking it, they grumbled to the manager, 'These last workers only put in 1 easy hour, and you've made them equal to us, who slaved all day under a scorching sun.' He replied to the one who was speaking for the rest, 'Friend, I have not been unfair. We agreed on the wage for a day's work, didn't we? So take it and be on your way. I decided to give the one who came last the same as you. Can't I do what I want with my own money? Are you going to get stingy because I was generous?' Here it is again, the great reversal. Many of the first ending up last, and the last coming first. In this ancient story,
the following is a poem entitled "In the City of the Poor" from a collection by Alice Major entitled "The Occupied World." Each corner phone booth is a slot machine. A man shuffles the long shot gamble of Main Street. Flips coin return levers. Hopes for the rattle of a tiny payoff. The city of the poor is ruled by philosophers and the number they called the Lord of better and worse births. In the city of the poor, pampered saplings each hold up a loop of Christmas lights, like a woman's hand showing off a necklace in a store. In the city of the poor, irrationals drop from the number line. Eyes swivel to avoid the man debating with the devil, a delirium of air that blocks his private trapezoid of pavement. The roots of negative numbers are called imaginary by politicians. In the city of the poor, no one demonstrates. There is no proof. In the words of this contemporary poet, may we find wisdom for our living. So I thought I would start out this reflection with a bit of a confession. I may not be alone, but I might be. As a kid, gathering around the Thanksgiving table, it was not my favorite time because it meant one thing. It meant going around the table and saying what we were thankful for, out loud, for everyone to hear. Now, to be honest, as an adult, I don't like it all that much better. Now, criticizing Thanksgiving traditions on Thanksgiving is maybe a crazy, risky way to go, but I'm not actually a grump. Those of you who know me know that, I think. There are plenty of things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for people that have been influential, who have taught me, counseled me, loved me, given me innumerable gifts. If someone does something for me, I appreciate it, and I am quick to thank them. But there's something about forcing gratitude, like forcing any feeling, is just a little less than honest. A little like saying to our children, apologize right now, whether you mean it or not. Be grateful, whether you are or not. It's been maybe 25 years, I'm sure longer than that, but at least that long that I've been hearing, as well as you, I'm sure, about the practice of journaling your gratitude. It's said that consciously cultivating gratitude can confer so many benefits to us. Emotional and physiological advantages: will be more content, more optimistic, less selfish, better able to defer gratification, and even maybe sleep sounder. I'm firmly in the maybe camp on all of that, because I wonder if count your blessings in order that you may have more of them is a bit iffy as far as justifications go. And maybe counting our blessings and journaling our gratitude as a way to a happier, more fulfilled life is maybe not quite reaching the highest values we've set for ourselves, our own gratitude and happiness. Alfie Kohn, in his article on gratitude, says, look at it this way. If there's something wrong with being perpetually sour and discontent, and I think we've known people like that, and we'd agree there might be something wrong there, why wouldn't we also object to erring in the opposite direction? Waha. if we think those who are constantly complaining should take stock of what they have and quit their whining already, why not push the habitually happy to contemplate what isn't satisfactory? Doing so is the apt response to a given turn of events. And for those who have no problems coming up with a list mile long of their gratitudes at Thanksgiving dinner, if their own lives really are a non-stop delight, then couldn't they, just for a minute, summon some indignation on behalf of all those humans whose lives are exponentially more dismal than that? The question I guess I'm asking, and yes, on Thanksgiving, is there not a shadow side to all our gratitude? For every opulent feast with far too much food that we give thanks for, there are those who haven't and won't have even a simple meal. These aren't guilt trips, they're just realities of our world and our life. For the gratitude of our many comforts and privileges, our homes, our easy transport, our settler attitudes, there are those who can never go home and find themselves walking for their lives to a foreign land they're unsure to find welcome. For every gratitude we share for work, for health, for economic growth, for retirement funds, there are systems that have worked in our favor to ensure that we have those gratitudes. And there are those for whom the system equally excludes. I'll share with you an interesting tradition I learned about. On the last Thursday of November in 1931, about 200 people gathered in New York City near Union Square for what was billed as the first annual Blamesgiving service. I'm not sure I love the title, but I like the words that are in their flyer. While others are expressing their gratefulness for the good things of the past year, their leaflet says, there can be no harm in making a similar list of things that were just not so good. I wonder if things like that poke us and prod us, elbow us in the uncomfortable places between our ribs that say, are we seeing things the way they really are? Are we responding accordingly? Maybe, neither an Eeyore nor a Tigger ought we be. And it's with that lens that I want us to approach the old parable that Nancy read for us this morning. It's harvest time in the vineyards, and the landowner goes to the marketplace to hire day laborers. But instead of hiring all he needed at once, he went out 5 times at 6 a.m., 9 a.m., noon, 3, and 5 p.m. You might have a hint and a sense of a comment coming on his character just in saying that in that way. At the end of the day, all alike are given a full day's wage, whether they worked all day or just an hour. And they grumble about this. Well, not the ones who worked for an hour, but the ones who worked all day did. They grumbled immediately about the landowner's injustice. And we've tended to focus on that problem in this story of personal or individual justice. Was it fair? Was the owner equitably generous or provocatively condescending? And in focusing there, we might get to the heart of a truer or more honest generosity. I want us to think about this interchange. About 5 o'clock, the landowner went out and found others standing around and said to them, "Why are you standing here doing nothing all day?" And they said, "Because he has hired us." And he said to them, "You can also now go into the vineyard." How would Jesus' listeners, especially poor day laborers, have responded to that interaction when hearing this story? Would nobody from that audience have objected to such a blatant blaming of the victim? Would nobody have protested? It was not laziness and doing nothing. In hearing this story, should we not have the same questions? Questions about the difference between personal injustice as compared to systemic or structural injustice. Why did it happen miraculously, mysteriously, I should say, that even at high harvest in the vineyards, when all of these lands are being sown for their crops, when labor should have cost top dollar or top denarius, as the case may be, day laborers were still looking for work at the end of the day? And of course, the owner knew this. He knew that situation full well, since he'd tried all day to have just the amount of laborers he needed and not one more. He knew he could go out as late as 5 p.m. and still find workers. How did things happen just as the landowners wanted? This can be a story with the theme of just shut up and be grateful. Look at the money you earn today, whether it be for a full day or an hour. Hasn't the landowner been more than fair to you? And again, that's where we can ask the story, is it about each individual worker? Or is it about the system of landowners and workers? This is a story that pushes back on that first century farming culture, but also on a 21st century tech consumer culture, by asking, or maybe demanding of us, that our gratitude ask deeper questions. Listen again to how Alice Major depicts that kind of systemic sickness in her poem. Eyes swivel to avoid the man debating with the devil in the city of the poor. It's a delirium of air that blocks his private trapezoid of pavement, as if there's an invisible shield there in which no one sees him. She goes on to say, in the city of the poor, no one demonstrates, no proof. Who's to speak for the workers? Who's to speak for those without work? Unless everyone does. When we come face to face with the comforts in life, like on a day devoted to awareness of what's good in life, the question of what isn't so good elbows themselves in, whether we have one of those blames-giving service days or not. One of the best questions along the spiritual path I've long held is, so what? But a very close second is, who benefits? Who benefits when we're persuaded to live life according to the economic drivers that push to define us? Who benefits when we sign up for this and that and give our personal data away? Who benefits when we acquiesce to our identity as consumers? and think that everyone in our lives needs a gift for this, that, and the other. And so do I. Who benefits when we simply live with and deal with injustices as, oh, that's just the way it is? John Hanson, a professor at Harvard Law School, writes, "The norm of Thanksgiving seems to be to encourage a kind of gratitude, a particularly generic sort of gratitude. A thankfulness for the status quo. Indeed," he adds, "when one looks at what many describe as the true meaning of the holiday, the message is generally an announcement that current arrangements, whether good or bad, are what they are, and we must find the good and be happy with what we have." That works for some, and definitely does not work for others. It's worth asking about the uses of which our gratitude is put. What questions does it quiet? Whose interests does it serve? We can appreciate a welcome development and thank those who make our lives more satisfying, and yet still offer a realistic appraisal of what isn't worth celebrating in our world. So my message to myself is, Chris, stop ruining Thanksgiving right now. Stop it. Indeed, let's, in fact, be grateful for all that is. This planet, this world, this life that is a wonder. And let's be aware that a day like this helps us not take those things for granted. We might list them even. But I wonder if this is the year that we add to that list. If we add what it is that needs to change. If we add what costs our decisions have on others. If we add to our list what we're mad about and what is deeply unjust. If we ask, what is the cost of all those things we're grateful for? Maybe we can let our gratitude move us to an awareness that someone else is in pain. If it doesn't do that, then it's just self-congratulatory nonsense around the dinner table this weekend. Not just that someone else is in pain, but that someone else is in pain and we can help. That this day and the meal we celebrate with it will just be the energy we need to get up from the table, to get up from the table to speak, to get up from the table to act, and to know that there's a day that we can all dream when everyone can really and truly be thankful. So in the meantime, may it be so for us in so many ways as we work for the life we so wish for all.
This table, a simple place of meeting, a place that acknowledges our need for life's essentials, a place that gathers us in our need for food and drink, our need to know one another and be known, our need for acceptance and belonging, our need to feed our bodies and our minds and our spirits.
This table, a place where our gratitude is shared and where acts of justice begin, where we organize and energize, harmonize and strategize. A place where we discover and share what is required for life to flourish. A place where we nourish our own dreams for peace.
This table is a place where we remember and we lament the bitter taste of hatred, the withered grapes of prejudice and cruelty, and the sour grapes of sexism and racism and ageism and all our isms. But it's also a place where we remember the sweet stories and experiences of understanding and mutuality, of perseverance and of courage.
This table, a place to gather in solidarity with all who dream of a more fair and just world, with those for whom the systems of our culture are not working, the ones with whom we will stand.
We're invited to this table today to share in Earth's gift of bread and to share together in Earth's gift of grapes crushed into an unfamiliar form. We bring our commitment and our gratitude and our compassion, our thanksgiving and justice. We bring it to this table together. We're invited to this table where we can participate in the communion of our common humanity, coming together in sharing in a simple ritual as an act of strengthening our intention to seek the highest and deepest humanity for all.
We're all of us welcome. It doesn't matter if you're a member of this church or any church. It doesn't matter if you've participated your whole life or never. It matters that you find meaning in this time of commitment to our deepest values as we hunger for the bread of courage and we thirst for the cup of community. We take this light as we take the courage and the community that we've emboldened, and we go to have a marvelous Thanksgiving. A Thanksgiving where we ponder our gratitude, not for our own sake, but for the sake of what we might do in the world with it, for those who need it most, for those near and far. We take this and we go to the world. In peace we go.